We are nearing the finish line of the 2016 NFL regular season. It's such a tight playoff race. Right now we have 13 teams that are in the hunt for the AFC and NFC wildcard spots. In fact, leading the AFC is the Patriots with the best record in the league at 11-2. Kansas City Chiefs 10-3. Pittsburgh Steelers in third at 8-5. Texans are 7-6. Those are their respective division leaders. And right now in your two wildcard positions, the Oakland Raiders and Denver Broncos, with teams in the hunt such as the Miami Dolphins, Ravens, Titans. Surprisingly, the Tennessee Titans this year. The Indianapolis Colts, Buffalo Bills are actually still in it. And then the Bengals and Chargers. Which Bills, Bengals, and Chargers, I think they're theoretically out, but they're not mathematically out yet. And for the Colts, there's still a possibility they can get in. But they just need a lot to happen. And with Miami sitting at 7, this is an interesting one. Because theoretically, this is only a what if. But what if Kenny Stills doesn't drop that touchdown pass in the opener against Seattle? Do the Dolphins win that game against the Seahawks week 1? If so, they would be 9-5 and sitting in the second wildcard spot. So just think, it could be a difference of one big play or one miscue or one turnover that gets a team in the playoffs and a team that gets knocked out of playoff contention. And right now, if things are stay the same, that's what we're looking at between the Broncos and Dolphins. Or let's imagine that Cairo Santos doesn't get that lucky bounce in the field goal in overtime. We're sitting at the Raiders in first in the AFC West and the Chiefs in the wild card spot. This is what's getting down. It's getting down to the wire in the NFL. Let's look on the NFC side now. Already clinched spot in the playoffs, we have the Dallas Cowboys at 11-2, or as in that meme we said the other day, 11 and Giants. Second, we have the Detroit Lions. Surprisingly, they have just stormed all the way into second place in the NFC. They're leading the NFC North, and I said that the Lions, this was Matthew Stafford's last chance in Detroit. And I think he's going to get spared if the Lions make the playoffs. Because I was saying, if Matthew Stafford can't get the Lions, if they can't move anywhere with him, he was going to get let go by the Lions at the end of the year. And right now, that is probably not going to be the case. Sitting in third place are the Seattle Seahawks, sitting at 8-4 and the tie against the Cardinals in what was a 6-6 shameful game. I mean, that game was just really shameful. Only a bunch of missed field goals and a bunch of turnovers. At fourth place, we have the Atlanta Falcons sitting at 8-5 and the NFC South, owning the tiebreaker over Tampa Bay, based on the best win percentage in the common games. And the two wildcard teams right now are the New York Giants, who are just red hot lately, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are also a red hot team. And in the hunt, still at seventh. Right now at 7th, we got the Redskins, we got the Vikings at 8, the Packers at 9, who are on a 3-game winning streak after an abysmal start to the season. The Cardinals still in the hunt at 5-7-1. The Saints and Panthers and Eagles theoretically still in it, but they are they're still mathematically, but they're kind of theoretically eliminated in my opinion. I mean, the Saints could easily win out because they could beat the Cardinals this week. They could beat Tampa Bay next week, get the redemption from last week's heartbreaker, and they can win in the season finale against the Falcons. They can still go 8-8. But they would need the Falcons to lose to the 49ers, which, spoiler alert, is probably not going to happen in my picks. So we'll just skip right along through that when it gets to the pick time. And the Eagles. Man, I was reading something yesterday. The Eagles have a 0.00002% chance of making the playoffs, which we're at, in Vegas odds, 5 million to 1. So that would be amazing if somebody put $100 on the Eagles to make the playoffs right now, and just by a miracle they made the playoffs. The Eagles are still have a chance to make the playoffs. It's just going to take a miraculous miracle. I mean, I can't possibly explain how the Eagles can make the playoffs at this point, considering it's 5 million to 1 odds. All right, so let's get to the picks. All right, it's pick time. We got a bunch of great matches this week. A lot of playoff implications at stake this week, so let's jump right into it. Now, some of these are going to be quick, others are going to be a little bit long to explain. So sit back and relax and enjoy some picks from your boy Johnny Talk Sports. Here we go. Thursday night, Rams versus Seahawks. The Rams are coming off the abysmal losses to New Orleans, New England, Atlanta on Sunday, which was the last straw for the Chiefs ownership as they decided to relieve Jeff Fisher of his duties. And the Seahawks are back home to the 12th man after that humiliating performance against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. Russell Wilson had 5 interceptions. I mean, the Packers just dominate from start to finish. So I'm picking the Seahawks to win this game. I think they're going to recover. They're going to come out angry after the humiliating loss. Russell Wilson will be on his game. Right, this is on Saturday, I believe. The Dolphins take on the Jets. Now, the Dolphins do not have Ryan Tannehill quarterback. It will be Matt Moore starting at quarterback. And I had some feeling of who Matt Moore was. But it's been a long time since we've seen Matt Moore on the NFL, on the football field, starting a game. And against the Jets, I think the Dolphins will be able to handle this one because I think the Jets will be the Jets. The Jets, they could consider tanking for some high draft picks. They could try that. I mean, the Jets will probably want to try to get a win to end the year strong. But I think the Dolphins are going to have so much motivation, knowing that they are in the playoff hunt, because the Dolphins are in must-win situation right now. Packers versus the Bears. Green Bay, another team in a must-win situation. And I think they're going to get it done against Chicago. I just think Aaron Rodgers is back to his original form. I mean, we were waiting all year to see when. We've been waiting for weeks now. When will Aaron Rodgers be back to Aaron Rodgers? We saw a glimpse of it against Philadelphia. We saw a little bit against Houston. But we just saw him dominating against the Seahawks. He and the Packers offense just scoring at will. I like that to happen again. I think they're going to blow out the Bears. Jaguars and Texans. Jaguars, they're 2-10 they're 2-11 on the year. The third worst in the league in record-wise, but I think they're probably the second to worst team in the NFL, which we were all hyped on the Jaguars that they could maybe steal a playoff spot at the beginning of the year. Right after that draft, after they drafted Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack. But it's just been a disappointment for the Jaguars. I wouldn't be surprised if Gus Bradley was relieved of his duties come the end of the season. And the Texans. The Texans, I think they're going to get this W. I think they know that they're getting close to the playoffs. I mean, Brock Osweiler can taste it. He wants to have something to prove, to lead a team to the playoffs when he's the full year starter. Browns and the Bills. There's not much time to waste in this one. The Browns will probably go to 0-14. But if the Bills lose this game, watch Rex Ryan get fired on the spot. Because I could totally see that happening. Because the mentality for most people is, if you lose the Browns, you should get fired at this point in the year. But Rex Ryan will probably be fired at the end of the year. But I think he's not going to want to be embarrassed by losing to the Browns. So I think the Bills are going to win this one. It's not going to be a pretty one, but it's going to be a win. In fact, I'm going to say the Browns are going to be ahead in the fourth quarter, but they're going to blow it. Eagles and Ravens. I'm picking the Ravens to win. The Eagles' playoff chances are now at 0. Especially with the Ravens coming so close to beating New England last night. I mean, they're still in the playoff race, a projected 8th seed right now. They're still in the wild card race, so I think the Ravens are going to get that huge W they need. All right, Titans and Chiefs. Titans, another team that's in the wild card hunt. And the Chiefs, they're coming off some big wins against Atlanta and Oakland to get to number 2 in the AFC. But this is the first upset I have of the week. I am picking the Titans to pull off a massive upset against Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City got lucky against Atlanta. And I mean, they really got lucky against Atlanta. They did. They kind of got lucky against Oakland. And the way you think about it, the Chiefs didn't necessarily dominate the game. The Chiefs, in my opinion, are overrated. I was saying that a lot last year. The Chiefs are probably the second, they're probably the most overrated team in the AFC Conference. There, I said it. No hard feelings, Chiefs fans. Titans are going to get a huge W behind Marcus Mariota. And that defense is going to keep them in the game. A defensive battle. But the Titans win in a 20-13 slugfest. Lions and Giants. Now this is a huge matchup. This is probably one of the top 3 games of the week. Tennessee and the Chiefs was 3. This one is the number 2, the second best game of the week. Matthew Stafford has an injury to his middle finger. And the Giants are coming off a big win against the Cowboys. They've beaten some good quality teams this year. I think the Giants are going to continue that. The Giants are just looking red hot. It wouldn't surprise if we saw them in the Super Bowl come February 5th. You know, Odell Beckham's on his game. Eli Manning's on his game. The Giants' defense is on their game right now. And when the Giants are red hot and they're on their game, there's nobody that wants anything to do with this team. And then the Lions just give me the Giants' next victim. Colts and the Vikings. I'm picking the Vikings to win this one. I think this is going to be a nice game. I think we're going to see quite a bit of scoring. We're going to see quite a bit of scoring in the beginning, but I think it's going to relax toward the end of the game. I think the Vikings they're going to win by a decent 24-17 score. Pretty solid. It's not really a game I would necessarily watch, but it's a great matchup with teams that are still in a wild card discussion in their respective conferences. Steelers and the Bengals. I'm picking the Steelers to win this one. The Bengals, their season is like lost at this point. Marvin Lewis is going to probably get fired at the end of the year, it looks like. Another year of disappointment in Cincinnati. Saints and the Cardinals. This is another one of my upset picks of the week. I'm picking the Saints to pull off the W. I think Drew Brees is going to beat this Arizona secondary led by Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson. I mean, the Cardinals secondary is beatable. And I think if anybody can just really expose it and just really get after it, it'll be Drew Brees because he's got great targets on the roster. So I'm going to pick the Saints to win 31-28. Okay, 49ers and Falcons, we're skipping it because I had the Falcons winning by a bunch. But it makes me nervous a little bit because the Falcons lost the 49ers last year 17-16. Well, it was kind of a horribly offensive game that was being called by Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator. That was kind of when I lost trust in the Falcons last year, at that point in the year. Patriots and Broncos, this is the absolute game of the week. You've got to watch this. You absolutely have to. Whatever your key for the game for the Broncos is, you got to have your defense keep you in the game. Which is what they did last week against Tennessee, only allowing 13 points, but the offense couldn't get anything going. But I have the Broncos pulling off the upset against the Patriots. I think that defense is going to get a defensive touchdown that'll put a spark into the offense. And I think it's going to go on from there. I think their defense keeps them in this ball game, and I think they're going to win. I'm going to say 38-35. It's going to be a highly offensive scoring of a game. It's going to be the game of the week. Raiders and Chargers. I'm picking the Raiders over the Chargers in this one. Buccaneers and the Cowboys. And this is also the top game of the week. In fact, we had a tie. The Patriots and Broncos and Buccaneers Cowboys. Those are the 2 best games of the week that were in the number 1 slot. I mean, we have so many good games, we get to put 2 at the number 1 spot. So I'm picking the Cowboys to beat the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have a 5-game winning streak. I think they haven't played a team like Dallas yet this year. A team that will just completely just wear down your defense to run the football behind the O-line. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's he's on point right now. Even though he only scored 7 points, Ezekiel Elliott still had 100 yards rushing in that game. And I'm picking the Cowboys to recover from that heartbreaker against the Giants last night. Finally, the Monday night game, Panthers versus Redskins. I'm picking the Redskins, although the Panthers got an okay win against the Chargers. But I just think with receivers like Pierre Garcon, Deshaun Jackson, Crowder, I think Kirk Cousins had a field day on this Panthers secondary because their secondary has been a problem all season long. And I like Kirk Cousins to have a huge field day. Right, so that's it for the Week 15 predictions. If you're keeping score at home, I have the Seahawks, Dolphins, Packers, Texans, Bills, Ravens, Titans, Giants, Vikings, Steelers, Saints, Falcons, Broncos, Raiders, Cowboys, and Redskins all win this week. Let's see how I do. I hope I can go 16 for 16. That would be really cool. I mean, the best week we had so far was Week 4, where I went 14-2. Well, that's going to do it. Like, subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends, family. Share it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're going to have the non-New Year's 6 Bowmania picks tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're going to have the New Year's 6. And then we're going to get to the big ones in the college football playoff semifinals. We'll get that within the next week or two. A little closer when the games are. Anyway, I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.